Hello my friends and welcome back to the rabbit hole. In today's video, we are going to be talking about anti-aging tips that transcend beyond the realms of skincare. So let's get into today's video. I am so excited. I'm basically going to take you guys through a bunch of studies that I've read. Don't think this is boring. These studies are anything but boring. They are fascinating. Some of these tips are things you can do right now. You don't need to buy anything. You can do them right now and start improving your life. So let's start with topic number one, and that is exercise. I'm sure you're thinking, okay, I already knew that exercise is healthy. What does that have to do with anti-aging? Turns out, a lot. Every study I talk about will be linked in the description box below, and I've got 4 studies to share with you on exercise and anti-aging. But to start with the premise here and work my way back, the premise of these studies is that high-intensity exercise can knock up to 9 years off of your life at the cellular level. And this is not based on a small sample size. One of the studies was done through NHANES data, which your girl worked on. So what they did is they took the data of over 5,000 people and they grouped them into 3 different categories: low, moderate, and intense exercise. And what they found is that in that intense exercise category, the participants had less telomere shortening. So what this study is showing is less signs of aging, again, at this cellular, kind of invisible to the human eye level, right? But what about in terms of what is visible to the human skin? What about superficial characteristics? Well, there's some really interesting studies that get into this. First one starts with mice, and they divided the mice into 2 categories. They gave one group high-intensity exercise, and the other was sedentary. And as they observed the 2 groups of mice, they saw that the intense exercise group was not showing the characteristics of aging that the sedentary group was. And beyond that, they actually saw it on a visible level. The intense exercise mice were not going gray at the same rate as the sedentary group. So that same group of researchers extended this to human studies, and they did a human study with participants whose ages ranged from 20 to 84. They did the same thing with these participants as the first study. They grouped them into categories of exercise. So they took skin samples from these participants, and what they were seeing is the characteristic signs of aging in the older participants, meaning that as you age, your skin typically is thicker on the outside and thinner on the inner layers of the skin. However, when they divided these skin samples up by exercise groups, what they saw is that people who were consistently getting over 3 hours of exercise a week had skin that actually resembled a younger person's, meaning that the outer skin was thinner and the inner skin was thicker. And what's an extra level of fascinating here is that this held true even among the 65-year-old participants in this study. Their skin looked like it was 20 to 30 years younger when they were looking at the thickness of those layers. So at this point, they took their 65 plus sedentary participants and they said, all right, we're going to put you guys on an exercise regimen. You're going to do cycling or jogging at least twice a week for at least 30 minutes. And then in 3 months, we're going to see how your skin is doing. So after 3 months of this exercise routine, they redid the biopsies in this group, and guess what they found? Their skin actually started to change. It was shifting into that thinner outer layer, thicker layer that we saw in the 20 to 30-year-old participants. And all of these studies taken together are so incredibly exciting. We're talking about the benefits of something that you can do right now in your own home for free that could make you look 20 to 30 years younger in terms of the thickness of your skin, 9 years younger at the cellular level, so that you will actually not just see anti-aging externally, but inwardly as well. 1 hour a week for 3 months, and they saw these incredible changes at the cellular level. If this isn't inspiring, I just don't know what is. I would personally add to this, don't feel like you have to do jogging or cycling. I would recommend HIIT, H-I-I-T exercise. You can look that up here on YouTube, and you will find a whole bunch of workouts. That's a really, really good form of exercise. But let's move on to topic number 2, and that addresses expression lines. So expression lines are, of course, the lines that you get over time in your skin from expressions, whether that is smiling or whether that is frowning. Now, I must say, I have seen some mentalities around this particular topic that I do not particularly like, often perpetuated by people with very large followings. We're talking 10 million subscribers on YouTube. And the message that you very much may be familiar with is to train your face to no longer show expression, such that if you are unhappy, don't frown. If you are happy, teach yourself to laugh without laughing. Because that's real cute. Okay, so here's the deal with this one. I think this is a 50-50 split of potentially good information and potentially just terrible information. When it comes to not frowning as much, I tend to agree here. I think that, if you suffer from RBF and you perpetually frown, you may want to not do that for reasons way beyond just the signs of aging. There's been studies into this topic of how our expression affects our mood going back to the 1980s. We've consistently seen a feedback loop of if you express unhappiness, you feel unhappiness, but also if you express happiness, you feel happiness. And it makes perfect sense. You learn as a child that smiling makes you happy, such that when you are an adult and you smile, it makes you happy. So this is where it's really a direct split for me. Sure, frown less, but please do not ever try to hold back your smile, because the psychological benefits of smiling far outweigh the cons. Not to mention that we sometimes tend to overlap these concepts of a youthful appearance and attractiveness, but there have been studies into attractiveness, and what we found is that people are more attracted to a smile, period. And yet again, to support that idea of not frowning as much, there is a study that exists with a rather small sample size that took participants who had had Botox. And really quickly, just because this is a pet peeve of mine, Botox is what goes into your forehead to freeze the act of frowning, and hopefully, as a side effect of that, to eliminate any forehead wrinkles. You do not get Botox here. You do not get Botox in your lips. Oh my goodness. But anyway, in this study, they did find a higher level of happiness. So you could read this study and say, oh, I guess I need to run out and get Botox. But surprise, surprise, this study was funded by the makers of Botox. So my take-home point from that study is, do things that make you happy, experience happiness more, and even if you're not feeling happy, smile more, because we've documented the psychological benefits of that action. So we did cover expression lines. What about any other lines that a person may see? So a great example here would be if you've ever seen somebody who has smoked throughout their entire lives, they certainly do develop different facial lines than somebody who didn't. But in addition to that, it is possible to have lines that are not explained by expression nor by smoking, and we call those, get ready for it, gravitational lines. Man, I already didn't like gravity. Gravity is the reason why I broke my expensive glass bottle of vitamin C. Now there's more I gotta worry about with it? Wanna go to space? Well, it turns out that those lines could be a result of your sleeping habits, or for me, lack thereof. These lines can appear if you're smushing your face too much into your pillow. Now, I was reading this study, and I think something certainly worth noting here is that it's an emphasis on they could. There does seem to be a rather large genetic component here, and yet I feel like most of us have probably experienced sleeping on a pillow and then waking up with lines on our face for, the next 30 to 45 minutes. So there certainly are some things that you can do here. The easiest that you can do right now is to sleep on your back. Now, I'm just going to be honest with you here. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a story. So when I was shopping for my first ever mattress, I went to one of the mattress stores, and they make you lay down on all the different mattresses till you find the one that you like. And then once you found that one, that's when they bring out the pillows. So the lady who was helping me, she brings out a pillow and she's like, okay, now try this pillow. Now can you sleep on your back with this pillow? And I was like, no, I don't ever sleep on my back. There was another sales associate kind of a little bit further off. She turns around, so now they're both looking at me and they're like, you don't sleep on your back? And I'm like, no, I sleep on my stomach. You guys, both of these women gasped. They were so horrified that somebody's sitting there saying, yeah, I like to sleep on my stomach. What's wrong with that? But I am a lifelong insomniac, so true story. I walked out of there with a mattress and a pillow, well, delivered the mattress, and I did not think about this for at least another decade. And what changed my mind on this was sleeping on a silk pillowcase. You know, when you try one of those, you wake up in the morning and you don't see those lines that you have from sleeping on a cotton pillowcase. Now, I did personally level up to the Sleep and Glow pillow, which I got in PR, and I do think it is the top tier here. It has these grooves designed into it so that your face is no longer pressed into a pillow kind of at all. And I am especially a fan because this is the only pillow I've ever seen in my life that shows you an option for how to sleep on this if you insist on being a stomach sleeper. So if this is a concern for you, you do have 3 levels of options here, from the free option of sleeping on your back to sleeping on a silk pillowcase, all the way to a custom designed pillow. But along with this, I have to admit that I've seen in myself an increase in the quality of my sleep as I've gone up this ladder, and that is of course my third point here, sleep. Darn you, Estee Lauder. I have spent so much money on your brands and all of the brands underneath you, and yet just had to go and fund a study showing that if you are not getting adequate sleep, you may have an increase in visible signs of aging. How could you do this to my insomniac self? But speaking to you as somebody who has had insomnia as a lifelong struggle, I also want to make sure I really quickly address sleep supplements. I've tried them all. I have tried all of them, and I will tell you that personally, I do think the only one I'm really comfortable recommending is melatonin. There's a lot of herbal remedies out there, and we're really starting to see adaptogens gain some momentum, but my concern with all of them is I would like to see some more studies that address long-term results. Even when it comes to valerian, ashwagandha, I do have some concerns, and yet I try them specifically for me. I was taking quite the cocktail, the herbal cocktail of sleeping meds, and I started to notice an increase in bruxism. I didn't notice it. Ara told me about it, and I was wondering why I was waking up in pain. Whereas when it comes to melatonin, we do have the most extensive body of literature. The one that I take now is Hums, which is actually only 3 milligrams of melatonin, and I think that's all you need. Which brings me to my final topic in this video, and that is none other than supplements. Now, as somebody who studied nutrition, I have to start this part of the video with a rant about why I don't like the supplement industry. Didn't expect me to say that one, did ya? I dislike the emphasis of the supplement industry on vitamins and minerals. See, in my ideal world, what would happen is you go to your doctor frequently to get your blood levels checked, you find out if you have some sort of a deficiency, and then your doctor prescribes you that vitamin or mineral so that you are no longer deficient. But as you know, we cannot live in that world, at least not in America. We certainly can't. I am grateful that rather than getting my vitamin D through our incredibly flawed healthcare system, I can just order from Hum Nutrition for $10 a month. If you are taking an excess of vitamins that you don't need, you have anything from just vitamins that your body can't use to a potentially detrimental situation. But again, it's a real love-hate relationship because, you know, within the supplement industry, we do have vitamins and minerals, but we also have adaptogens. We also have melatonin is a hormone. And then, as you might have guessed where this is going, we have collagen and we have hyaluronic acid. We have supplements that could potentially improve your skin. And when it comes to collagen, you know, years ago, we didn't really have a lot of conclusive evidence that supplementing with collagen did much for your body at all, but that has been changing rapidly. I have 5 studies on collagen and hyaluronic acid, and what we've seen in them is an increase in hyaluronic acid production with the supplementation of collagen. We've seen the skin barrier improve. In other words, an increase in skin hydration levels by supplementing with collagen. But I think there are some details that you need to know when it comes to this topic. And I guess I'll share my anecdotal experience with collagen as well, because that has been going on for about a year at this point, and it's really been enlightening. So my first experience with collagen was through Hum Nutrition. They had originally sent me their Collagen Love. So I took that for a couple of months. I ended up buying more, and then I stopped just to kind of see, what are the effects of both taking it and ceasing to take it. And what I was seeing more than anything else was less an effect on my skin and more of an effect on my joints, which of course does make sense with collagen, especially bovine collagen. However, I noticed when I was reading a lot of the literature that they were using much larger quantities of collagen than I was taking with Hum's supplement. And in fact, the smallest studies were using 1 gram as opposed to 800 milligrams. So I took these studies to heart and I said, I'm going to start taking at least 10 grams of collagen a day. And this is also when I started taking hyaluronic acid, so I'm throwing a bit of a confounding variable in here. But when I saw these studies, I was pretty convinced that it was at least worth trying, as the studies saw an improvement in hydration, reduction in wrinkles, and most importantly, when they did a rat study, they actually saw that the hyaluronic acid from these supplements was indeed being utilized by the body. And that's one of the biggest barriers with the entire supplement industry. You don't want to just be swallowing these supplements that your body then discards, if you catch my drift. But in this rat study, they did see the hyaluronic acid being absorbed by the rat's small intestine and then distributed into the skin. So at this point, I was pretty convinced I want to try 120 milligrams of hyaluronic acid plus at least 10 grams of collagen. And again, anecdotally, but for me, this is where I really started to see the benefits and started to convince myself that this is an excellent combination. So to take you through what I've been doing, so I started with Ancient Nutrition, but I moved past that because there may not be a reason to take all of the different types of collagen. It's types 1 and 3 that you want to focus the most on, 1 especially for the skin and 3 especially for the skin and the joints. So I turned to Vital Proteins, which uses bovine collagen, and that is the types 1 and type 3. They also include 120 milligrams of hyaluronic acid into this. So it's as close to a perfect supplement as you can get, but it's really, really expensive. And the other con with Vital Proteins is I just did not like the taste. It's the beauty collagen specifically from Vital Proteins that I absolutely think is incredible. I mean, it's even got probiotics in it. This is an incredible product, but the flavor is rough. I wasted several of these trying to figure out if I liked it in water, in milk. Ugh. But I settled on mixing it into yogurt, and that was absolutely the best. But again, still a really expensive option. So then I moved on to Smarter Nutrition, and a lot of the reason I did this is that I wanted to try marine collagen, which is again that type 1, the type most abundant in your skin. This is the natural blueberry flavor, and this is what I've been taking more recently. You guys are always asking me, what do you eat in a day? I will share with you my breakfast. My breakfast is a scoop of this in my Greek yogurt with some extra blueberries and some almonds on top. Oh my gosh, it is my perfect breakfast. But the problem with that is it doesn't have my hyaluronic acid, so I have to take that separately with Hum's Glow Sweet Glow. So I guess I'm saying here that I still haven't found a perfect product, but I personally am not going to be giving up this combination because it's been going incredibly well for me. Now, tremendous con here. This took months for me to arrive at a combination that works for me, that I actually enjoy taking. That is all I have for today's video. I hope it leaves you excited. There really are some incredible ways to improve not just your external appearance, but internally, your health, your wellness, and your internal aging. If you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.